Also in the making of the Parah Aduma, that the making of the Parah Aduma was involving fire. That's the idea of rushing upwards, and the idea of shuv, that's going downwards. That's the idea of the water that comes down in the Parah Aduma, and the joining of both things together. This is the idea was something that's chukas ha-Torah. It's something that is, on the one hand, it has to do with the entire Torah. The entire Torah is based on this concept of the halam al-mata l'maylo and the hamshachim al-maylo l'mata, as we mentioned, all the details about that in all the different levels in Torah study, in mitzvahs, and performance in mitzvahs, and nefesh adam. And this idea of the difficulty of joining two opposite things, that is the reason why it's considered a very difficult an idea of chukah. It's something that is beyond logic. Now we're going to conclude this pasuk that it says Vaydaber Havaya. It says twice Yud Kei Vav Kei, and we said that the fact that it says twice Yud Kei Vav Kei indicates both the level of Zeir Ampin and the level of Atik Yomi. That's why it says that Havaya spoke. This is the chuk of the Torah that Havaya commanded. It says twice the name Yud Kei Vav Kei in the same topic. Shu Inyan. Chibur v'amshachas Havaya the Atik v'Havaya the Zeir Ampin. It's the joining and the drawing down of the Havaya of Atik Yomin, which is higher than Seder Ishtalshlus, in the Havaya of Seder Ishtalshlus, the small faces. She'inyan hachin naila shalamayla mitzvah is the most highest idea that's beyond any type of ends, meaning any type of descriptions or definitions. Nimshach lamata bezeir anpin comes down in the zeir anpin, which zeir anpin v'derechal goes on the shisha midas, which corresponds to the six edges, six tzavos that everything has, top, bottom, in the four directions. Mitzvahs, how we explain this matter, the way it is to be found, both the higher and the lower, the rotzi and the shuv, in Torah, and how it's found in mitzvahs, and then b'chlolos inyan avoida ba'ifin shel chibur rotzi v'shuv, and the general idea of the avoida, of the joining of a rotzi, where the person is transcendent and reaching up beyond kelim, and then shuv, returning and coming down into the vessels. Even more so, that this idea comes down even lower. To such a degree that is such a super rational things, that from the perspective of Chachma, there is no purity for it. Why dafka this is there no purity for the idea of tumas meis, the yoisa tuma chitachtoina besra tumas, because the tuma of coming in contact with a dead body is the lowest type of tuma in the 10 different levels of tuma that the Mishnah enumerates. Until it's called the father of fathers of tuma, the grandfathers of tuma. And because it defies even wisdom to be able to understand how it can be purified, therefore the face of the colors of the face of Moshe changed. Till Hashem told him, when Moshe Rabbeinu was upset and said, "This is such a terrible thing. How is he going to come purified?" Because he couldn't understand with his chachma. Moshe Rabbeinu was the level of chachma. He couldn't understand how it would become purified until Hashem told him in Parts Parah Aduma, after Parshas Emor, when he was wondering about it. This is its purity. And they will take for the impure from the ashes of the burning of the chatos, like it's explained in Tanya Negeres HaKodesh, in Parah Aduma, concerning Parah Aduma, the chatos karya rachmon, that the Torah calls it a chatos. Now, normally, a carbon chatos is something that's brought inside of the Beis HaMikdash. Instead, this thing that the Torah calls a chatos, nases bachutz, it is made outside, it is not made, it's not prepared inside the Beis Hamikdash like all other korbanos. So on the one hand, you're calling it by a name that has to do with a korban. On the other hand, you're saying it has to be offered outside, or it's prepared outside of the Beis Hamikdash, indicating shehi mebchina shalomayel mishtalshus. Since it's a level that's totally beyond Seder Ishtalshus, like we said, it's the level of Havaya of Atik. Therefore, since it's so high, it can come down so low, below the idea of Seder Ishtalshus. It can purify the most severe tumah. That the severe tumah of, especially tumas mes, comes from the three impure klippas. That's lower than noiga. In general, the korbanos that were brought in the Beis Hamikdash were for things and had to do with klippas noigam, and therefore its place was in the Beis Hamikdash. Here, the para aduma, which is also called a chatas, it's meant to be a type of atonement, but it's brought outside of the Beis Hamikdash because it is completely far and distant from the realm of kedusha, and therefore it can deal even with something that is the idea of purity of death. And then the Rebbe adds that over there in Tanya, in the parentheses, the Rebbe adds, that's also the idea of the passing away of tzaddikim, that the passing away of tzaddikim is something that deals with even and atones for even the worst and most lowest levels of sin, of things having to do with Shalshat Meis. Miriam. That's why the Torah portion dealing with the passing of Miriam was made close right after the parentheses. It says Parshas Parachulu, to teach you that just like the Para Aduma atones, so too the passing of Tzaddikim atones. The Rebbe adds in the parentheses, within the parentheses, line 16, the passing of Miriam and Aviyah was on the 10th of Nisan, and this was acted as an atonement in a similar way concerning the 10th of Shvat. The Rebbe is making a comparison between the 10th of Nisan and the 10th of Shvat that also accomplishes the same idea as the Para Aduma, to atone for the most lowest type of thing. So he continues in line 18, the idea behind this in the avoid of a person. It's known, all elevations of sparks deal with klippas noigam. You take a kosher piece of meat and you use it for either, you take a kosher animal, you use the hide for tefillin, etc., and you eat it, and you make a bracha on it on Shabbos and a Yom Tov or middle of the week. This can only be, all the refining of the sparks can only be from klippas noigam. Masha'enkin in Yonim Shemishal Meis, as opposed to matters that come from the three impure klippas, Sha'asur Lavim Magim. You cannot come in contact with them. He says in Yiddish, Metarzach Mitzain Nit, Farchepen Chas Shalom. You cannot, get caught up with them, heaven forbid. Top of the last page. Like we daven to Hashem every single day. Do not bring me to test and to challenge. We don't want to chas v'sholem transgress and have any contact with Shalshat Meis. I want to stay far away from that. So that is the avoida without the para aduma. Avol bedugma lezem, but in a similarity to the idea of the avoida of the para aduma, yeshna inyan shel avoida satshuva. There is the avoida of doing tshuva, sheshayach gam b'tzadikim. The truth is, it doesn't have to mean necessarily that a person does something that is completely wrong. Even tzadikim can have the idea of tshuva, until we say that Mashiach is going to come and bring tzadikim to doing tshuva. And what's the tshuva of tzadikim if they haven't done anything wrong? The tshuva of tzadikim is that's the idea that says that the spirit will return to the Eibishter that gave the neshama. In other words, returning it to a higher level than before. Avol, but in such a way that the neshama is actually in the body, not like we were speaking about the passing of tzaddikim. To many long days and years, good years. Yisrael, Torah, a promise that Yidden will do tshuva and immediately they'll be redeemed. The Gula Mitzvah Shlema, in the true and complete redemption through Mashiach. In Nisan they were redeemed, and in Nisan they will be redeemed in the future.